Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Dogbout53, and welcome back to Hearts Around for the New Order Last Days of Europe as Socialists, aka Komi. In the last video, we have Sergei Taboritsky put back into control, and right now we consolidate our power. We're tracking down the rest of the opposition. We're shooting to kill. And yeah, we're just kind of doing some of the stuff and working on it. So yeah, let's get to it. Classification monolith. Activity report PDZ-099. Stalina Svetlana Iosifovna. Subject's whereabouts are unknown since the establishment of a new government. Scatter reports surfaced of a female bearing a strong resemblance to a subject being sighted near Storovzevsk, though a follow-up work by police has been without result. Analysis. Stalina is not to be underestimated as a savvy political operator who is likely working to build a united front among liberal opposition groups. She's almost certainly accompanied by some of her loyal associates, in particular former General Petro Grigorenko, PDZ-339, in conjunction with whom she poses a serious insurgent threat to our government. Her liquidation should be undertaken at the earliest possible opportunity. Activity report PDZ-213. Bukarina Svetlana Nikolevna. Subject's whereabouts are unclear, but it's suspected that she may have fled to the virtually uninhabited wilderness directly south of Syktyvkar, where she is believed to be in hiding with a large force of leftist insurgent fighters, believed to be responsible for a series of roadside bombing attacks against military convoys in the region, as well as attacks on military facilities. Analysis. The symbolic importance of capturing or killing the daughter of the Soviet Union's former leader cannot possibly be overstated. Although Bukarina is undoubtedly an effective political force in her own right, her symbolic value is arguably far more threatening. And she could serve as a highly effective rallying point for Bukarinist holdouts. She is a highly charismatic leader who is also willing to employ great violence in pursuit of her goals. And it's for that reason that she must be targeted with maximum prejudice before she can become a broader symbol of armed resistance to our government. Report concluded. PDZ-213. Zdanov Andrei Alexandrovich. Subject's whereabouts are unclear, though he is believed to have fled to the north from Syktyvkar following the ouster of the old regime. Sources close to leftist resistance cells claim that Zdanov is in hiding in an isolated village somewhere in the remote northern regions of Komi, though his exact location is reportedly being restricted only to the most trusted party cadres. Subject's activities are unclear, and he is suspected of being connected to the production of certain leftist pamphlets found circulating in the Syktyvkar area. Subject is additionally suspected of complicity in several terror attacks against military installations, though this isn't confirmed. Zdanov's own capacities as a leader of armed resistance are limited, but his skills as an ideologue and orator should not be underestimated. Penetrating his inner circle in the past has been quite difficult due to the highly indoctrinated and even fanatical nature of his many close associates, and that stands to reason that his present circumstances may only exacerbate this tendency. There is no question that Zdanov will resist our government in any way he is able, and it's for this reason that it may be advisable to either capture or kill him. Before we conclude. Stalina sounds like the bigger threat, so we'll go after her first. We'll try to space out the targeting of our enemies. Secured some reliable infrastructure. Now we'll go ahead and unearth the arsenals. Throughout our lands, there lie vast arsenals of weaponry that have been buried in bunkers to protect from German bombers. The arsenals beneath Syktyvkar and its chemical stockpiles is a great example of this, but there exist many other such stockpiles. We must unearth these caches immediately and arm our forces with their contents. A well-armed force is critical for the expansion of our state and the impending reclamation of Russia. Well, there we go. How long do they have? They have at least 2 more focuses. Emperor's Authority. They still got to work down this. So we have time before they start reconquering stuff. Now or never. Renewed Spirit. The cold bit deeply into her body, even while wrapped in thick and heavy clothing. Svetlana Stalina twitched when she heard the wood snap next to her, and ducked her head down slightly while she grabbed hastily for a magazine. She remembered vividly how things went down. One moment she was walking with Vasily and her bodyguards. The next, one of them was dead on the ground, and they rushed towards cover. Now she was stuck behind a collection of soaked trees and wet bushes, the rain making it difficult to move, to see, and to shoot. Occasionally she would glance to her brother from the opposite side, who remained steadfast and silent. She was a good shot, but Vasily was better, though she could feel his nervousness climb with every bullet fired. The myriad of flashes and light, she decided to call out to her brother. "Vasily!" she yelled, and her brother opened fire. "Vasily!" She shouted again, pulling back the bolt on her gun. He turned around and looked at her with an expression both annoyed and concerned. "We must pull back. I'm running low on ammo. In the blackness of midnight, the misty cloud of dark red that sprouted in front of her was paired with a crack that rippled through the air in her mind, and she felt her body go cold. "Vasily?" she muttered, seeing his body drop as everything became difficult to observe. "Vasily! Vasily!" The weapon in her hand violently clattered against the ground as she took hurried, unpaced steps towards whatever unfocused shape there was on the ground. She could feel pain static in her ears, protruding everywhere around her, as sharp pain coursed through her knees when they landed against mud and dirt, and her hands tightly grasped clothed in its skin. "Brother," she choked out, catching a breath as tremors ran up her arms. "Brother, move. Please. Please start moving." It was difficult to take in the air, and everything was so loud. Everything was so very loud. The static burned her ears, and the ringing deafened them. She couldn't see anything beyond masses of shapes. She couldn't hear anything except the pain in her mind, and then nothing. We lose 1 manpower, 25 political power, decrease the effectiveness of class shadows. Power vacuum has become the leader of the authoritarian Democracy Party. Let's go after Zhdanov next. Free military factories. We need to start working on motorized and IFVs. And support equipment. So let's work on support equipment. Zhdanov next, and then Bukarina. So the Black Brigades have fallen. CSR versus Kemerovo. Okay, the Kemerovo is actually split in 2, so it'll be interesting to see. And Kemerovo is also at war with everyone. So that's certainly not helping that matters for them. Let's assemble our forces. There exist elements within our state that are sympathetic to our goals and motivations, yet were forbidden from gaining crucial military experience by the previous government. We will rectify this as well, and expand our recruitment to those that formerly would have been discharged for radicalism and disloyalty by the old republic. There we go. Let's see what we got. Zhdanov rocked back and forth in the janitor's cupboard he'd concealed himself within. There hadn't been any particular reason for the choice. Decisions tended to make themselves when one was mere minutes away from armed gunmen. It wasn't fair, not at all. He was going to be general secretary. No, paramount leader. He was Marx and Lenin both. The man who would elevate the people to their rightful place in the world. First, to the dictatorship of the proletarian, then to global revolution, then to the stars. It wasn't right for it to end like this! Zhdanov heard footsteps drawing closer outside his hiding place as a gunman bound it up the stairs. There was nowhere else to run now. Damn his instincts for driving him upwards. Something slammed against the door with a terrific force. Zhdanov screamed. There was a pause, and a second blow that smashed the flimsy wood inwards and tore it from the hinges. A dark figure rounded the corner, lifted pistol, and fired. It's not fair. And now, Bukarina. Damn, he really had to go out like that. Cowering in a cupboard. And the PRC is mostly doing... I think the PRC might pull out the clutch here. Possibly. I'd like to see the PRC win for once, just because I've never seen them do anything, really, other than die. Oh no. That breaks things a little bit. Well, I won't break it too badly. Despite everything we've done, our armament program and recruitment programs, an army is nothing but a mob of ill-organized rabble without competent officers and quality training. We must assemble our army's high command and consult the officers of the Republican Army who've remained loyal to us for a comprehensive new program of training and disciplining our forces. Speaking of army, I just realized we're going to have some new troops. In fact, we have new generals. So let's go with... Who's a good attack guy? Let's go with Prokhanov. Then for Field Marshal, let's go with Viktor Larionov. That seems pretty good. Horizontal Industrial Organization 2. The truck jeered and rumbled as it made its way through the wooden road just outside Syktyvkar. But Ukraina, like the rest of the party members, rising in the flatbed, was silent. There was little in their cause worth cheering for by that point. Even their armed escorts had abandoned them. Nobody had time for a few failed ideologues. Then, there came the sound of a distant engine, growing closer and closer. It was deeper and louder than the beat-up old ZIS, and definitely faster. Bukarina's blood ran cold, and she leaned over to hammer on the top of the cab. Faster! Drive faster! Someone's on our tail. I can't go any faster! This thing barely runs in the first place, ma'am! Just as they were approaching a bend in the road ahead, one which might have bought them some time to disembark and scatter, the pursuers came into sight, roaring along in an old armor-plated truck of American make. The fugitives could see their hatred and their cold professionalism with which they carried themselves. They had a light machine gun mounted atop the cab, and before ZIS could reach the bend, it opened fire. In the moment before she was riddled with lead and toppled from the truck, Bukarina whispered an apology. To our party, to her friends, and most of all, her father. Bukharin's dream died with her, as it should have long ago. Damn, that last line was cold-blooded. Oh god, they went for Tukhachevsky. Yeah, fuck, okay. That makes things interesting. So we're gonna have to fortify here. Resistance is 1. Oh my god, populist and racist, question mark? You got Peugeot in La France. Form a true army. Let's get some infrastructure and no industrial. We don't have enough building slots for factories. Okay. And that kind of complicates things. Let's get some oaths of loyalty. There's an important question vexing the political apparatus of a state, the military apparatus alike. The question regards the oaths of loyalty that each soldier is to take. The old republic had a set of oaths dedicated to protecting and upholding democracy, the Republic, and the Komi Constitution, which will clearly not do. However, the factions that make up our current government are conflicted as to which form the new oaths shall take. The more monarchist-inclined groups wish to absorb the Tsar's oaths, swearing loyalty to a crown and throne that are currently vacant. The more mainstream elements of the government, on the other hand, wish to reward the old Republican oaths to fit our newer, stronger state. There are even some elements within the state that view the Soviet oaths and their commitment to ideology as a possible model. The army must come to a decision to ensure the loyalty of our troops and a united military. Fyodor clutched the gun, his fingers numb. He trained himself to tremble less, and at the right spots to keep his gun sights levels and his aim clear, but the price he paid for it was that shooting felt less like an action and more like a twitch. The target seemed so very far away, and he thought of his home, now further still. Loud and clear, the old voices rang in his mind. Only a man can fight for his home. Only a man can do this. And the rebuilding of Russia needs anyone, Fyodor. It needs you. His parents, his brother, the army had long been a second home, but he never forgotten his duty to the first. The crucifix around his neck shuddered as the shots rang out. 1, 2, 3. Then silence. Fyodor lowered his gun. It seemed he'd been mostly on point for today's rounds. The stained hammer and sickle icon that passed for a target had been shot into oblivion, its white scraps hanging on the wire lattice base. The sergeant nodded, wrote ticking scribble numbers into a book, and dismissed him. As Fyodor left, he smiled wanly. Perhaps rifle inspection would be late today. Well, it was invariably ended later than anyone could predict, and far later than anyone was ever comfortable with. At least the meals were better than what now that they'd ousted that damn Bolshevik in the canteen. Dmitri nodded to him as he passed into the cramped bunk quarters. Little talk was necessary, and little talk was offered. Two men clearing their rifles together, a pastime as old as time itself. And as the two traded rifle oil and cleaning brushes, there was an air of near amity. Dmitri finished, reassembled the bulky mess of parts into its gleaming hole. Then he knelt, taking well-worn beads from his left pocket, and began to mumble as the beads slipped between his fingers. A prayer for enemies, and for Syktyvkar, for the men who would lay their lives betwixt the two. Fyodor mouthed his own silent prayer besides him. We'll figure out the questions of oaths soon enough. Yeah, fuck. We're gonna have to, Yeah, this looks rough already. I've never seen Tukhachevsky's tree, actually. Taboritsky had never seen a priest quite so agitated as the one before him now. It was almost amusing, like a cat stripped of its favorite toy and left immune to its own frustrations. Unlike a cat, however, he had no real option to leave this priest by the roadside. No, the godbotherer would follow and nag at the man until one or the other expired of exhaustion, irritation, or both. He sighed, rubbed his sore temples, and turned his mind to the matter at hand. Acknowledgement of the role of the church in the oath of service is not some trivial matter. This is a matter of eternal life. For these men do not die with God in their hearts. They will lack resolve to carry on. The priest nodded animatedly. Naturally, the church would like all fighting men to pray for the health of their leader as well. Sergei Taboritsky gestured for the priest to take a seat. He looked around his office for a tea sachet. Surely the man would have his tongue stilled if nothing else. Thank you for your attention, Father. In truth, I was thinking of adopting oaths from the ones most familiar to us. We are, of course, as you know, a Christian nation, but not all our subjects have had the privilege of baptism. My advisors have suggested a modified version of a Soviet oath. He raised his hands against the already sputtering priest, and yes, We are well aware the Church would not be pleased with this, to put it lightly, which is why I was thinking a simple oath to the Russian state until the spiritual health and loyalty of our subjects are ready for a full oath to God's appointed trustee. It's a compromise, and I assure you we will think of something better, but it will do for now. Time to chase the cat away. He had the affairs of men to settle. Have a good day, Father. My receptionist will receive you. Well, our soldiers will know their god and Tsar. It's a little weird that Taboritsky is the one in that event. I think it's just because they don't have anyone else, or it's coded to be the leader. It makes more sense for someone like Gumalov or Shafarvik. But for now, the anti-Bolshevik pack. The state of Vyatka under Tsar Vladimir III is not an ideal ally. Indeed, in a less desperate situation, would be considered an enemy need to strike down as soon as possible. However, we do not have the luxury of such an idyllic situation. With the growing red storm to our north, we must approach a pretender Tsar for the good of both of us. Only once the Reds are defeated may we have the luxury of reconsidering our foreign policy situation. We must approach Vyatka with a proposed anti-Bolshevik pact for mutual defense and shared training until the sacred task of casting down the communist is completed. Here we are. Here goes Utka. On the front has one. Let's redo this a little bit. Yeah, we're probably going to want to move. We'll move that guy to that VP. Oh, we got another troop, though. That's beautiful. Let's get training 2 at a time. Let's train our troops, get some more manpower. Abir's gained control of Algeria. And now we wait and see what they say. With the telegram looking into the possibilities of an alliance with monarchists to our south with Vyatka, we expect the Tsar Vladimir would see how much we have in common and how dire our situation is against numerous enemies. However, from what we gather, from a reply hastily sent by their own foreign office, the minute differences in our ideology have been enough for them to reject the offer for an alliance, or at least justify doing so. Of course, we've been limited in our belief of the greatness of the Russian nation and its people, as well as their will to oppose the communists, the Germans, and all other enemies. We chose not to blindly follow the ideals of monarchism that appealed... Okay, that's not right, because we are monarchist, but... Despite the doubts by very few of the rights members, perhaps we were absolutely right to do so. Any diplomatic channels and backdoors between Ustosk and Vyatka that remained open have been closed in the aftermath of what's perceived as a diplomatic betrayal, especially when the front looms over us ominously. For all intents and purposes, all prospects of befriending the Tsars have ended. From now on, the only diplomatic interaction we will ever have will be their instrument of surrender when the war inevitably comes between us and them. Much more dangerous that exists right now. Well, the pretender has betrayed us. Go figure. Clearly, the supposed Tsar has proven himself an enemy of state, by extension an enemy of all the people of Russia. Though a repurposing of our broadcast infrastructure, we will... Oh, and the abundance of print shops in our cities, we will begin a propaganda campaign against him in its cruel backwards regime. The Russian people must be led to realize that the state in Vyatka is not the future of Russia. It is a relic of a dark and effectual past, little better than the Reds themselves. There we are. We can get working on offensive line right now, so let's do that. We could loot them. I think I'm good. I don't want to risk it too much. can do some stuff for our loot, though. I guess we'll do farming methods. Okay, they're marching forward. In a way, I kind of hope they go after us first, just so we can go ahead. And prepare for them early. Let's recognize our strength. Our state is situated in a strategically useful area with abundant resources, population, and industry. The communists, as evil as they are, after all, would not have made Socialists their temporary capital without reason. We must remind our people of this, that we are strong, that our soldiers are the greatest in Russia, with the will to protect their families and the nation that they love. We do not need allies, for allies are merely temporary, transient things, the shifting mass of allegiances that is the new Russia. No, it is best to stand on our own and strive out against the darkness. Now that works for me. A lot of stuff works for me. That's probably one of my catchphrases now, isn't it? Clash of Shadows is gone, so the pie chart is pretty much set. No communist influence in our country anymore, which is very blessed. CSR versus the PRC. Well, of course the PRC can't fucking get that right. Of course. Well, let's get a Ring of Steel. There's no single defense line that is sufficient to prevent Ust-Tosk from all the threats that surround us. The hostile Tsar to the south, the erratic fanatics of gaining to the east, the liberals to the west, and the front practically on the doorstep of our capital, we must seek a single all-encompassing solution to our defensive woes. That solution shall come in the form of a Ring of Steel. A vast network of fortifications must be constructed around our frontier to defend our state from attacks. While we do not have the resources to form a strong, consecutive string of fortifications, we shall be able to construct enough small border forts to ensure that the attacks are greatly dissuaded. Ust-Tosk shall be secure from attack from any angle, leaving us free to plot our grand reclamation of Russia. Okay, so the front went after Vologda, so that gives us some time. We might be able to demand the order submission, and that could get us them. And of course, the more divided they are, if we end up going to war with them, they'll split up their troops a bit, and so we can just push easier into their core land. So none of this is a game ender right now. I'm about to say game changer because I'm thinking about Survivor too much. Season 34, Game Changers. I haven't seen it yet. I don't have Paramount Plus, so I can't really watch anything, but one of these days I'm hoping to get to it. I don't know why I'm talking about Survivor right now, but I am, so here we are. There's a cold silence in the heart of the Komi Republic. It echoes in the formerly busy market square, stilling the lively tongues of the merchants who have come from all over Syktyvkar's environs. The rumor has begun to spread, and they cannot be suppressed, but Vologda has refused. It is said. On all sides Komi is embattled, and the armies grow ever closer in the black night, like a sheet over its border. It grasped at the heart of senior citizens who watched with false cheerfulness of the news and looked into the long darkened closets, wondering if the old firearms are still working, if their aim is sharp in their old age as it was in the first. So too the hearts of soldiers and generals, stifling their cheer and dulling the gleam of their boots. No one is willing to say that what they really think, but all are looking to their old homes, to reprieve and gentle obscurity. There's a time coming when they will no longer have a luxury of the former. There's a cold silence, too, in the leadership. The option of republic have run dry. There's no one coming to save them, and what good is a government if it cannot look its people in the eyes and tell them that things will, in due course, get better? The Staffords, of course, are forbidden from even discussing such things. It scarcely matters. Just as ravens sense the coming of a storm, so too can the public sense the inexorable approach of a problem Komi can no longer deal with. In a village of the south of Syktyvkar, children play the timeless games of all children everywhere. They run, aiming mock pistols and bows at each other, giggling as they hide behind walls and bushes. A mother watching them fingers the pistol in her own handbag. Perhaps one day she will take her child to the range, and should he ask why, she will merely whisper in her ear, with the grace of someone who can no longer protect her love. You may be soldiers soon, too. Okay, so Vyatka is kind of getting, beaten up by the Aryans, which is an interesting course of events. For now, Russia waits. We have prepared enough, going through all of the preliminary strokes of diplomacy and armament. Now is the time for expansion, the reunification of the motherland. Russia waits with her west open for our taking. There lies only our enemies standing in our way. There are many, and we are few, but with the will of the Russian people on our side, along with our connections and our formidable arsenal, our state shall emerge triumphant and reclaim her fair lands. With our preparation complete, the only thing left to do is issue our orders to our diplomats and generals, and prepare for the greatest string of conflict that we shall yet face. Get some more support going, which God knows we'll need. Ooh, God, yeah, God, the Aryans are winning. That's not good. That's kind of a little cringe right now. Well, they didn't have God on their side, evidently. Russia waits. So does the Order. The Order of St. George has cause that one may consider righteous, to honor God, and to oppose the anarchy that has consumed the motherland. However, they are insular, radical, and unwilling to cooperate with outsiders, viewing them as insufficiently pious at best, and outright heretical at worst. For better or worse, we must end this policy by force and issue an ultimatum for monks of a squirrel's nest fortress. Submit to our state and be free to practice their religion within our borders, following our laws, or face our armies on the battlefield. Well, shoot. We have time to deal with them. So we'll do an offensive little line. Uh-oh, Gorng's doing well. That kind of complicates things. I could just have Germany bricked for the rest of the game. That's not the worst. They're still holding out Vologda. Bless their hearts. Oh, there they go. Oh, okay, Vyatka. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but... let's get working on the war within. When a United Red Coalition was announced, few could believe an alliance of different parties was possible. Even fewer believed that the coalition could get into power. However, these skeptics are now proving themselves right as the faction leaders feud and bicker among themselves. The question of whether it will collapse is not a matter of if, but when. The civil servants who run the country must prepare for the coalition's dissolution and return to factionalism and infighting, ensuring that the new power struggle will not be as destructive as the old. Gainy. They stand defiant. Well, it's treason then. Closing the channels. Yeah, okay. Take their capital. Faithful man shall ban with blessings. Okay, so here's what we'll do. Get all these guys here. We'll start Korngani. I'm not overly worried about losing it, though, because it'll keep coring anyway. We'll get a front line like this. An offensive line like this. For now, let's... I don't know for how long we'll own Gani, so let's crack the coalition. The coalition as it stands is a complete farce. Every day its representatives in the National Assembly fight each other with words and with fists over the most trivial matters of policy. Notifications to the leaders of rival parties and issuing declarations revoking our participation in the coalition will be easy to send. The likelihood of other parties accepting is very high. The official dissolution of the coalition may mean a return to the days of constant deadlock, political infighting, and inter-party street battles, but at the very least it will reflect the current reality on the assembly floor. They're nationalizing Vologda's wealth. There's only so much more they can do. I'm working on some better artillery, so let's do that now. Crack the coalition. Shavarvik dropped his pen with a sigh regarding his latest letter. It was quite possibly the most important letter of his political career, a make-or-break moment for him. It closed inside would be what would crack the right in half. Shavarvik was splitting, forming his own group inside the Passionary. Shavarvik and Gumilov had never seen eye to eye on everything, of course, and perhaps the split was inevitable. The main force binding them together before and had been a mutual distrust of the center and left, after all. Without either of those posing a serious challenge, the cracks had widened to chasms. It was no longer expedient or really even tenable to maintain the alliance. Across to the right, the pieces fall, as Passionary members proclaimed their loyalty to one side or the other. Most importantly, however, was which way Serov and Taboritsky would fall. Though neither commanded nearly as much influence as the two, their support could be the push that would make or break one side's plans. These thoughts all rushed through Shafarvik's mind as he handed the letter to his secretary. Now was the hour where Russia's future would be decided. The real game begins. Okay, let's do... Let's embrace the order. Question mark. With the Gani settlement under our control and the order now under our jurisdiction, now is a prime opportunity to set a precedent for our future religious policy. As always, the factions within our government are split on the issue, with a wide range of theories stretching from cracking down on religion to embracing the Orthodox Church as a central pillar of Russian culture. Throughout our state, other religious groups are looking to our policy on the issue as a guideline towards what they, too, should expect in the future from our government's policies. We'll go ahead and increase a bit of monarchist influence, because why not? Holy shit, Amor is winning! Amor is doing very well right now. Holy shit. Yeah, so it's gonna be fucking Tomsk wins. Father is rising up soon. The general staff was seldom caught by surprise. It was in the nature of their job to predict the unpredictable, to catch the curveball and throw it in the enemy's face. This aspect of their political doctrine had been unchanged even as the politics of a state tumbled like the loose clump of dirt in a strong breeze. No one, however, had anticipated a situation quite like this. The so-called chaplains in front of them, self-appointed of course, had barred the doors of a barracks after being expelled, calling down the old fire from heaven in their own defense. Apparently, these renegade priests had taken upon themselves the solemn duty of trying to evangelize to the infantrymen, beseeching them to convert for the health of the nation Sergei Taboritsky. They had made a fatal error approaching a company whose ranks were dominated by old Soviet veterans, and for that mistake they were set upon by the irritated and godless. It had taken the intervention of the military police to set them apart. A priest, lips still bleeding but head unbowed, rose to speak. This is a travesty that the David of Russia, the bearer of the mantle of God, shall have this godless as his servants and his conquerors. This is a spiritual crisis. We demand a right to administer his medicine. A General Rosa spoke, still trembling slightly from his age. My men would follow the orders of our state anywhere, but to impose upon them a church they reject is a sure path to disaster. I ask for moderation. We have always seen in you. Do they know who we are? There must be a better way to build Russia anew than to hang the cross upon the necks of our subjects. We must follow the will of God. I don't know what to tell you guys. So let's go ahead and rebuild the monasteries, ? Although monasteries and fortresses controlled by the Grand, not even they were immune to the ravages of war and the bombings. Throughout the long decades of shame experienced by Russia, the churches and monasteries of Gany have stood strong, but not escaped entirely unscathed. The show of goodwill towards the Order of St. George, and towards the Orthodox Church in general, the more traditionalist elements of our government have advocated a comprehensive program to rebuild the religious architecture of Gany. Reception of his plan has been mixed with more moderate elements railing against it as a waste of valuable resources. They're integrating Vologda right now. And so they only have one thing to do after that. Nothing but nonsense. Yeah, fuck. Radzevsky is winning. Yep, here we are. A series of white flags rising on our border with Tukhachevsky's West Russian Revolutionary Front has marked us as a clear next target for his expansionist desires. The radio message accompanied the event, as well as made no doubt of his ambition towards us. As stated in the radio message, we shall have 3 days to surrender the front, turn over our military to Tukhachevsky's command, and make our lands ready to be administrated by the Arkhangelsk government. If we are to surrender now, it continues, our generals and government shall be pardoned and free to go into exile, or continue to serve under the front. If we fail to comply, one more warning will be given, after which our government is no longer guaranteed to be pardoned. If this warning is not heeded, Tukhachevsky promises, we will meet nothing but total annihilation at the hands of the Red Army. The various commanders scattered throughout Socialists have already been assembled, and general call to arms in the name of defensive republic has been issued. Ceasefires have already been called between various factions vying for power. The people wait for the government's response to this clear provocation. With the increasingly powerful front bearing down on us, and their banners visible from the border, it seems that the time has come to either bend the knee or make a stand. We must make a stand for the Republic. Scavenge for more loot, so let's do that. In response to our refusal to Tukhachevsky's initial terms, the front has delivered its final warning. Dark red flags fly over the border, visible from our forward positions. Beyond the horizon, surely the Bolshevik armies are preparing themselves for the assault. The latest terms for our state have been broadcast across the lines, clear and plain as day. We are to surrender immediately, dissolve our army, hand over all military equipment to the front, and allow their units to cross the borders in order to prepare for our state integration. Most notably, the provision stating that our governors in general shall receive amnesty has been revoked. As the critical hour approaches and our final preparations are made, panicked deliberations begin behind the line. Those less patriotic about our cause have begun to migrate southwards, away from the path of invasion if it is to come. This is the final darkest hour before the storm falls upon us. Shall we surrender to the red tide, or shall we stand strong and hope to overcome it? We stand for the Republic. Well, not for the Republic, but yeah. As black flags on our border and the declaration of war is received over the radio, the first Bolshevik artillery shells have landed within our territory. The war against the front is upon us, and we can only hope that our forces can break the onslaught of the Grand Marshal. Our men shall stand bravely until the very end, be it against chemical cloud, armored columns, or infantry surge. And our officers are proud and prepare to fight. With the skill of our army and fate on our side, we shall be the fortress that shatters the front for last time. If we are to fall, let it be as heroes. And if we are to triumph, let us ring eternal in the halls of history. Invincible in legacy. Legendary, excuse me. Together against tyranny. Oh! What a cliffhanger it ended on, right, guys? I'm going to have to cut it here. Thank you as always for watching. However, if you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, hit the sub button for more uploads every weekday, as well as every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, anything of the sort, leave them in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get. I appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, anything of the sort, check out my Discord. If you want to send $50 my way, I have a Patreon. If you want to see me do a source of life, I have a Twitch. All of which are down in the description box below. That's really it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for watching. My name has been DB333, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.